Hey guys, and welcome to today's idiot video. Today's video comes from the channel Yanadameen Godcast, and is titled, Do We Live on a Spinning Ball or a Flat Immovable Plane? But before we get started, I want to set the stage for what's going on. In this video, we have four people. Digga, who is the lovely lady in the blue dress, our one and only globe earther. And then we have some guy with dreads, a guy by the name of Lord Jamar, who was popular in the late 80s and early 90s in a hip-hop group called Brand Nubian. And finally, we have our resident flattard, Brother Sanchez. And in this video, they get everything wrong about gravity and the globe Earth. So let's begin.
Digga?
Man asked the question. We are saying,
Yes.
why is the density argument debunking the gravity argument? Like, just because something is more or less dense, like, to me, that doesn't disprove gravity.
Digga, you are absolutely right. Density does not prove or disprove gravity. Density is a quantity that describes an object's mass divided by the object's volume. It's a property of an object, while gravity is the observed phenomenon that objects are attracted to each other based on their mass. Just as a heads up, Digga does her best to explain these questions that the flat earth idiots are going to raise, and they may not be perfect, but she gets more right than wrong.
Would you like to take this, Brother Sanchez, or should I?
Yeah, sure. The thing is this, gravity is an explanation, density is an explanation. At the end of the day, these are two explanations that are meant to explain why things float and why things fall. But when you compare these two explanations, one ends up in a theoretical category and one ends up as a feasible natural explanation to 100% explain this phenomena of why things fall and why things float.
Kind of the way genius and idiot can both be used to explain what Brother Sanchez just said, except one of them, genius, can be demonstrably proven false. In this video, taken on a zero-G parabolic flight, liquids of different densities mix together during freefall and realign themselves when freefall is discontinued. This is due to the force of gravity being cancelled out by the inertial forces experienced during freefall. This cancellation removes any vector the different densities would have to align themselves with. Therefore, they just mix freely. So relative density doesn't always explain why things fall to the surface of the Earth.
Gravity failed to do that, whereas density explains it just fine why a butterfly should be able to fly, and gravity won't pull it down, but it's strong enough to pull all of that ocean water down.
No, you fucking idiot. Butterflies fly because they have wings and can generate lift. Water doesn't fly for the same fucking reasons. If a butterfly stopped flapping its wings, or if you remove the air around the butterfly, it too would fall to the ground.
The theory of gravity itself don't have an explanation to it to take that argument away about the butterfly.
Yes, it does, and this is where gravity and density have a unique relationship with one another. Let's start with a very basic equation, F equals ma. All we really need to concern ourselves with at this point is F and m, because A is equal to big G times the mass of the Earth divided by the distance to the center of mass squared. But we'll save that for another day. So back to our equation, where F is directly proportional to m, so that when the mass increases or decreases, so will the force pulling down on them from gravity. Let's also say that all of the butterflies we're talking about are the same size, therefore they're the same volume. This means as mass increases, so does the butterfly's density. So now we can infer that as a butterfly's density increases, so does the force pulling down on it from gravity. So a butterfly flies because it's not so dense that the lift force generated when it flaps its wings overcomes the force of gravity trying to pull it down. If the butterfly were made of, let's say, pure lead, its wings wouldn't be able to generate the lift required for the butterfly to maintain flight.
When I explain that it's possible for the butterfly to do that with the laws of density, it does debunk gravity because that's where gravity falls short and density wins.
Wrong again. How can density alone determine what can and cannot fly? A plane is more dense than the air around it, and it flies just fine. And you haven't really splained anything. You've demonstrated your lack of understanding of the relationship between the gravitational force and density, and it won't be the last time that you get aerodynamics completely wrong. But you're a flat earth idiot, so let's continue.
You know, because think about it. Even airplanes shouldn't be possible if you talk about the strength of what's keeping all of the trillions and trillions of gallons of ocean stuck to a ball. Even your best jet wouldn't be able to escape that force unless that force was saying, okay, I'll let him go. You know, I'll just let him go.
You're an idiot. As I've already stated, water doesn't maintain flight because water can't generate its own lift and thrust. An airplane can maintain flight because it does have the ability to generate its own lift and thrust. But remove that lift and thrust from an airplane and it too will be stuck to the ground, just like water.
Density don't make the claims gravity make. Gravity says all things come up, what? Must come down. We all learned that, but that ain't true with a helium balloon. You see, that ain't true with a bubble.
Whoa, that was a whole lot of stupid in such a little sentence. So let's rewind and break that down.
Density don't make the claims gravity make.
Density doesn't make claims to begin with. Density is a property of an object that simply describes the total mass of a system divided by the total volume of that system.
Gravity says all things come up, what? Must come down. We all learned that.
Anyone who graduated high school knows that gravity is the mutual attraction between two objects with mass. Nothing about all things going up must come down.
But that ain't true with a helium balloon.
Have you ever seen a helium balloon in a vacuum chamber? Does it go up or down? So while a helium balloon will rise in the presence of atmosphere, removing the atmosphere causes the helium balloon to fall.
You see, that ain't true with a bubble.
Oh really? Well, I hate to be the one that bursts your bubble, but when a liquid is in free fall, bubbles don't rise. This happens for the same reason the density tower mixes during free fall in the parabolic flight. So that's 4 mistakes in that one idiotic comment. So let's add 4 to the counter because Brother Sanchez, you're a fucking idiot.
That ain't true with so gravity got a lot of cracks in it and density doesn't, because density doesn't make those claims. Density says that if you're lighter than the medium you exist within, you would float. And if you're heavier than that medium, you would sink.
No, it doesn't, you idiot. Density, as stated, is nothing more than mass over volume. Nowhere does it say that denser objects will sink and less dense objects will float. Nor does it say that if the medium an object is in is heavier than the object itself, then the object will float. Because I think everyone can agree that the water in a swimming pool is heavier than a single marble. However, if you drop the marble in the water, it still sinks.
So ice in a cup gonna always float to the top because the ice is hollow. It ain't heavier than the water. But put a rock in there though, it's gonna sink. That's density. According to gravity, the ice should be put to the bottom too, because nothing can escape the laws of gravity, right?
Oh, how the dumb flows so naturally with everything you say. Because ice isn't hollow, you idiot. When water goes from its liquid form to its solid form, the hydrogen bonds cause the individual molecules of water to be spaced out further. Therefore, they have the same mass as the water that created the ice cubes, they just occupy a larger volume. Therefore, they are less dense. And speaking of ice cubes, I'm still waiting for a flat earther to come up with an explanation of why ice semi-submerges when it's floating on top of water. If it's just density and the ice is less dense than the water, then shouldn't ice cubes or even icebergs sit right on top of the water? I can explain why this happens, and it's because of the one thing that all flat earthers know is true but refuse to accept. Desert File?
Gravity, you fucking retard! Gravity! Have you ever heard of fucking gravity? Gravity!
So
But I think the laws of gravity and the laws of density are mutually exclusive.
And you would be absolutely right, Miss Digga. If we had a genius counter, you'd get a point for that one.
Okay, so now let's address that for a second, because the fact that you even believe we can float away is because they on the ball model, they believe that we are not in an enclosure and we are exposed to a endless vacuum of space. Now,
that's why they hate.
But wouldn't that apply if we're ball or we're flat? Like if we are
if we're flat, we're saying we're inside of an enclosure. No. First of all, we're saying we're inside of an enclosure, number one.
Well, number one, you're an idiot. Because if we lived in an enclosure, then there would be some really peculiar and easily recognizable features that anyone could and should observe. First and foremost, we should see a direct relationship between atmospheric pressure and temperature, as defined by the ideal gas law, PV equals nRT. As anyone can measure for themselves, the pressure at the surface of the Earth is fairly consistent, barring weather conditions, even though the temperature changes significantly from daytime to nighttime. If we lived in an enclosed system, as the temperature dropped at night, so would the atmospheric pressure. I highly recommend checking out my good friend Conspiracy Cat's video covering in detail this topic. A link will be in the description.
Number two, if you were on a ball exposed to the vacuum of space, that's just like I have a video where I could show you where a physics teacher at MIT is showing that when you have a gas inside of a box, when you release the barrier, and you have a vacuum next to it of equal size or more, what's going to happen? All the fucking air pressure is going to go to the vacuum.
So number two, you're an idiot, because that's not an accurate representation of Earth's atmospheric model. As anyone who has ever flown in an airplane at a high enough altitude knows, the atmospheric pressure drops as you increase in elevation. At some point, the atmospheric pressure is so low that it can no longer support aerodynamic flight, and must rely on astrodynamics for spaceflight. But the truth is, there is still atmosphere above this line, which we call the Kármán line, and that atmosphere will continue to dissipate into the vacuum of space. So while we have drawn a definitive line to represent what we classify as space, there actually is no definitive point where Earth's atmosphere stops and empty space begins.
So how can we have a pressurized atmosphere yet
outside of a vacuum, supposedly?
Yeah, with a vacuum exposed to us
without a barrier,
and gravity stopping us from floating off. So you're saying that there's no barrier.
That would only work if there was a barrier. But
that's the only way.
These idiots seem to think that barriers have to be physical things like steel or magical glass domes. Anyone who has ridden a bicycle on a hilly road knows that you have to do work to ride up a hill. The exertion of your muscles increases your potential energy because you are working against gravity. When you get to the top of your hill and see that the next hill is higher, you know that you won't make it to the top just by coasting down your hill and up the next. That next, higher hill is a barrier to you continuing your ride. Unless you pedal and add more energy, you simply won't make it to the top. The same is true for gas molecules. In order to get away from the Earth, gas molecules have to have enough kinetic energy at the bottom to get over that big hill all the way to the near nothingness of space. Oh, and by the way, gas molecules don't have anything to pedal with.
We call when I guess astronauts are fake re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. We're burning up. This wouldn't be said barrier.
Before we go any further, I want to say that Miss Digga, while not technically correct with her question, is doing her best to understand the flat earthers' arguments. She asked them if the upper layer of the atmosphere, where meteoroids, asteroids, and the fucking shuttle can be seen burning up in, could possibly be the reason that we have an atmospheric pressure, and if that could be what is considered the barrier between space and our atmosphere. I feel like when trying to understand the flat earth argument from a layman's perspective, that is a valid question. And no shit, this is how Brother Sanchez answers that question.
Take it away, Sanchez.
Thermosphere. And, they tell you that these things come in from the thermosphere, such hot temperatures, but yet we never see no steam in the water, y'all.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Brother Sanchez, you're an idiot.
They're not going to know what they calling the different layers of the earth was what the ancient Hebrews called the different heavens. They had 7 heavens. They turned it into 7 layers.
First off, there aren't really 7 layers of the earth. There are 4. The inner and outer core, the mantle, and the crust. I think you mean atmosphere, and if that's the case, then oh boy, you got some dingers headed your way.
These different layers, for example, the Van Allen belt that they said they can't pass because they no longer have the technology to do that. The truth is that man has never been able to escape the earth, and what they call in the Van Allen belt is what the ancients called a firmament dome.
You're an idiot. The firmament, as per flat earthers, is a solid barrier that separates the heavens of God from the realm of men. The Van Allen belts, as postulated by normal people, are bands around the earth where charged particles are trapped by the earth's magnetic field. One is solid, one is not. One can hold in the atmosphere, the other cannot. Not to mention, the Van Allen belts aren't considered one of the layers of our atmosphere.
Here go the ancient Christian 7 heaven. You can see the different heavens, what we call the wandering stars, or what you call planets. Mercury, Venus, Mars, these are the wandering stars. Earth is not a planet. It's a plane enclosed in a net.
What the fuck? Earth is a planet, you idiot. And it's sure as fuck not a plane enclosed in a net. The etymology of the word planet comes from the Greek word planistai, which means to wander. To the naked eye of the Greeks, the planets look like stars that move through the night, wandering amongst the fixed stars of the background. According to the online etymology dictionary, the sun and moon used to be considered planets as well, until the modern definition of world that orbits a star was adopted in the 1630s.
But when you talk about the layers of the sky, you can see them here in the Hebrew cosmology. You can see them here in the Islamic cosmology. And you can even see them in the global cosmology.
I'm sorry, but nobody, except maybe a few dumbass flat earth idiots, think there are fucking sky people living in the different layers of our atmosphere.
Here's a Polynesian cosmology here where you can see the different layers, but there are different heavens. Each one of those skies are different atmospheres for other planes of existence, just like you can see here. Now, all they're doing is plagiarizing. If you look at this image here of the different layers that they give you here, and compare it to the ancient Hebrew 7 heavens that I just showed you, you can see the plagiarization.
Do I really need to be the one to point out that there are only 5 layers of our atmosphere, as shown in his own graphic, and not 7 like he continuously says? You're an idiot.
Now, they make us laugh at the ancients because they said the ancients was dumbest for believing the earth was flat. They didn't believe it was flat. We all know it to be flat. Our senses showed that it's flat.
Yeah, exactly. Start using your senses and just like 10% of your total brain power, and even you, a flat earth idiot, can join the rest of us normies and become indoctrinated with the truth. So use your senses and look at the daily sunrise and sunset and ask yourself this one question. Is this even possible on a flat earth? And before you bring up the ancients saying that the earth is flat, which they did, and they get a pass given the lack of technology. Today's flat earthers do not deserve those same sympathies towards their beliefs. We have too much technology and access to too much information to continue to believe that the earth is flat.
If you think you're atheist or you don't believe in the Bible or the different religions, hey, I just believe in science, you still believe in something, and that's a religion.
God damn, that's a lot of dumb coming from this idiot. A belief in science is not the same as a belief in religion. Science is backed by empirical evidence and is based on repeatable experiments, whereas religion is backed solely by anecdotal and faith-based evidence, which science simply does not permit.
I tell science is the new religion, and the scientists are the new priests.
You're an idiot.
Like back in the days, people would go to the priests for the answers to the world around them. Now they would trust it, whatever they were told. Now they go to the scientist and act like, whoa, he knows better than me. He's got a closer direction, a connection to God than me.
Well, most scientists don't believe in God. Or if they do, they understand that God plays no role in the method by which our universe works. And doesn't it make sense that you would go to a well-educated doctor to heal a broken bone versus a priest? Or would you rather go to a priest for brain surgery? Now that's a dumbass question to have to be asked, but Brother Sanchez is a flat earth idiot, so I have to ask it.
We was talking earlier about gravity. If you can see my screen now, I'm from Alabama, and I remember going to the Space Center as a child and getting on this thing called a gravitron. Y'all remember that? Yeah,
we used to call it the roundup.
Oh, okay. See, and this here dope, man. I ain't want to get off this because you can stand up on a wall and stuff like that. But the thing that's deceiving about this is, now this was meant by space programs all over the nation to explain how we stay on the Earth. As the Earth spins, we stick to it.
No, you idiot. The Gravitron, which is an actual amusement park ride, spins riders around a center point, generating a centripetal force that keeps the people rotating around the center point and stuck to the wall when the floor drops out. The centrifugal force is a fictitious force that makes a person on the Gravitron feel like they are being accelerated towards the wall, like gravity, but that's not even close to a proper explanation of how gravity works. First, while both gravity and the centrifugal force are both fictitious, gravity is felt towards the center of mass and has almost nothing to do with whether or not the mass is rotating, while the centrifugal force is directed in the exact opposite direction of the center of rotation and is completely dependent on the velocity of the object as it revolves around the center.
It wasn't until I became a flat earther until I realized that was kind of stupid, right?
So you've been a flat earther since what? Like the 3rd grade then? Because I know that by the 3rd grade, I wouldn't have believed that this was the cause of gravity. But then again, I wasn't born a flat earth idiot.
You wouldn't stick to it if you were spinning, right?
Yeah, sure, if we turn gravity off. But since we can't do that, then we're just going to be stuck on this spinning ball for the meantime.
So if we were on top of a spinning globe, right? And they're using the gravitron to show us how being on this globe would keep us sticking to it by spinning.
Wow, you really are dumb. The first couple of times you said that gravity was caused by the Earth's rotation, I figured you probably meant that gravity was kinda sorta similar to the gravitron. But now you're saying that science uses a gravitron to explain to everyone that gravity is caused by the rotation of the Earth and not the Earth's mass? You're an idiot.
Now they said we being pulled to the Earth core, that's one thing, so that'll keep us from flying off as it spins. But they got two things working against each other. It's hypocritical, so to speak. Because when they try to explain how this would work on a gravitron, they put us in an enclosed system, just like flat Earth.
Dude, they don't use a gravitron to demonstrate how gravity works. Not to mention, why the fuck do you think you stick to the walls in the gravitron, and what would that mean to the water on the flat Earth if it too were spinning? That's right, all the water would have accumulated at the ice wall, and the North Pole would have most likely been water-free. Also, the gravitron doesn't need to be closed to work properly. They enclose it because 1, safety reasons, and 2, because watching the sky spin over your head at 24 RPMs would make most people sick to their stomach. When the top is closed, the entire inside of the ride appears motionless, with an apparent force accelerating you much greater towards the walls than gravity is towards the floor.
Now you will have to be on the surface of this thing and it'll fling you right off of it. But they won't do that. See, this is fake. This is not a real demonstration on how gravity would work, because everybody would be on top of this thing, not in it. We don't live in a globe, right? So this right here is deception.
The only thing deceptive here is you deceiving yourself into believing that you are in fact not an idiot. The gravitron spins at 24 rotations per minute, not 1 rotation per day like the Earth, which is only 34,560 times quicker. And the slow spin of the Earth in regards to the centrifugal force felt is very small compared to the acceleration of gravity felt due to the Earth's mass, but it is detectable. In fact, at the equator, a 1 kilogram object will exert 9.8 newtons of force due to gravity towards the surface and approximately 0.03 newtons of force in the exact opposite direction due to centrifugal force.
Their machine that they're saying is
Right.
for gravity. That's what you. I don't think you're missing that point. It's not what we're saying. That's what they're saying. It's called the gravitron. They're saying that duplicates the gravity.
Once again, nobody at NASA, nobody in science, not Albert Einstein, and not Isaac Newton ever said that the gravitron describes how gravity works on Earth. All three of you dum-dums are idiots.
No, it was making a good point, because when you talk about how this would work, if gravity is pulling everything to the core of the Earth, then an airplane would have its thrusters on the bottom of it.
You mean like this VTOL jet or vertical takeoff and landing? But let's forget about the airplanes that directly contradict his dumbass statement, and let's talk about the planes that don't have VTOL capabilities. When taking off, a plane uses its jet engines as thrusters to get the plane moving along the surface of the Earth. The wings then form themselves in a way that atmosphere becomes trapped under the wing, generating more pressure below the wing than what is above the wing. This process generates lift, and lift is necessary to counteract the force of weight, which is the mass of the plane times something else. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Gravity!
Ah, yes, Desert File.
Think about what I'm saying. An airplane would constantly have to fight against the gravitational pull of the Earth, which they say that's what's happening. But if the Earth is pulling the plane down, the plane would need an upward force to counteract that, and a forward force, but planes only use a forward thruster in the back. They don't have one on the bottom to counteract what's pulling them down.
Well, thank goodness I just gave that explanation, which completely explained why you're wrong and the reason for my next comment. You're a fucking idiot.
If you only have a forward thrust and no upward thrust, how do you get up? If gravity should be pulling you down, it should only be going straight. Planes should be like a train, only going. They shouldn't leave the ground then.
Oh my goodness, you're such an idiot. Yes, you take the wings off of an airplane and you essentially turn it into a race car. But even race cars have a tendency to generate enough lift to send them airborne, simply due to the horizontal thrust from the back. In fact, professional race teams pay good money to engineers to help design cars to have minimal drag and lift with maximum thrust. So the upward lift that you are looking for to counteract the pull of gravity that you are denying can be found in the aerodynamic design of the airplane.
No one ever wants to answer the question, if we're spinning, how come I can't go up in a helicopter for an hour, come down and be somewhere else? Because it would not happen. You're going to come down in the same place because it's not spinning. It's not spinning.
You should be a hot air balloon, go above your house, and just wait and let the Earth keep spinning. And hey, man, when California get down there, we'll go back down. Then when we ready to leave Cali, we just launch our hot air balloon back up, let the Earth keep spinning till our city get beneath us, and get back down. That'll be an easy form of traveling.
If that were the case, then when driving down the highway, you could just flip a coin in the air and it would come down in the back seat. Why doesn't it do that? Because of a little something called conservation of momentum. If you were to leave the Earth's surface in a hot air balloon, you would be rotating around the axis of the Earth at an angular speed of 15 degrees per hour, and you would be entering into an atmosphere that is also rotating around the axis of the Earth at 15 degrees per hour. For you to stop and wait for the other city to just come underneath you, you would have to begin traveling against the rotation of the Earth at 15 degrees per hour so that you remain stationary to the axis of the Earth. Now let's re-examine the statement as if you could enter into the atmosphere and just wait for the Earth to rotate underneath you. What would this mean? Well, this would mean that the surface of the Earth is rotating at 15 degrees per hour relative to a stationary atmosphere, which we know is not the case because we don't see consistent 1,000-mile-per-hour winds at the equator. Either way it goes, you guys are wrong and a bunch of fucking idiots.
And what I'm asking is there anywhere in time that somebody can say on such and such date?
Yes, the Mickelson-Morley experiment. They tried to make experiment to see if the Earth was spinning.
How about this?
And it was proved that it wasn't.
No, it wasn't, you idiot. The Mickelson-Morley experiment was designed to test the effects of ether drag on light traveling in different directions relative to the ether. When no ether drag was detected, they were left with only two possible conclusions: that either A, the ether was stationary to the Earth, which ultimately meant that the entire universe rotated around the Earth, or B, that the ether didn't exist. Science has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the ether does not exist, and light doesn't need a medium to travel through. But nowhere, and I mean nowhere, does the Mickelson-Morley experiment talk about the shape of the Earth. In fact, the original experiment was designed to take place at two different dates, representing two different positions along the Earth's orbit. You know, orbit, like around the sun.
Well, how about this? All right, how about this?
That's how the whole theory of relativity even came about,
Jay, look.
from that.
Wow, someone other than Miss Digga actually gets something right.
If they're saying that the Earth spins at 1,037 miles per hour, right? Mm-hmm. A plane only flies about 500 something miles per hour. How would you get to your destination? Like, how would you catch it? Like, wouldn't you always be chasing? If you were going a certain direction, you'd be chasing your destination because the Earth would be spinning faster than your plane can travel.
Okay, so a couple of things to discuss here. First, let's assume that it's a calm day and that the atmosphere is stationary relative to the surface of the Earth. As I've already stated, if this wasn't the case, then the winds of hell would let us know. This allows us to treat the airspeed and ground speed of the airplane as just one speed. So when you say that an airplane is traveling at 500 miles per hour, you need to realize that the speed is relative to the surface. If the surface is moving 1,000 miles per hour relative to the axis of the Earth, then the plane is traveling at 1,500 miles per hour relative to the axis of the Earth. So the plane wouldn't be chasing its destination, it would be catching it at 500 miles per hour.
Think about it. The people going down here in an airplane are upside down flying.
Brother Sanchez, I didn't realize that you were a plane upside down idiot till just now. Down is towards the center of the Earth. So down in Australia, and down in South America, and down in Antarctica, all still point directly at the center of the Earth.
They're literally upside down. And you saying what's keeping their water in their cup on the plane is gravity.
Yes, exactly. The water in the cup, the plane, the people in the plane, and all of the atmosphere around the plane are all under the influence of Earth's gravitational pull. So as long as the cup remains in an orientation that keeps the water inside of it, it won't matter where they are on the globe. The water won't fall up onto the ceiling.
And that they don't know that they're upside down. And the blood is rushing to their head.
They aren't upside down, you idiot.
But they don't know it because they're writing, because it's so big that by the time they get down there, they've righted themselves somehow.
How do these idiots eat cereal in the morning without poking their eye out? At every point of the flight, down is towards the center of the Earth. There is no righting yourself. There is no blood pressure rushing to your head. There is no fucking upside down just because you are in the southern hemisphere of the Earth.
We're literally looking at it spinning like, down, mess up sound. But we're literally looking at it like moving. Like
but that's how
it moves way faster than that. 1,000 miles. That's a slow representation.
So I believe they are referring to the spinning globe that was on screen earlier in the video that I'm showing right now. She said that the Earth in the graphic was spinning faster than the actual Earth, and they said that it was actually spinning slower. Well, I hate to tell you this, guys, but Miss Digga's right again. Let's see how long it takes for the Earth to complete one rotation on its axis. 3.73 seconds. That's about 16 RPMs, or about 23,000 times faster than the actual Earth spins. So yeah, you three buffoons are idiots. Now before we go on, I want to prepare you for the dumbest thing I think anyone has ever said to support the Earth being flat.
1,000 miles per hour is going to be 1,000 miles per hour, no matter how big it is. So another way you can look at it is this, right? You're saying that basically if a skinny man and a fat man was running at the same speed, the fat man wouldn't detect his speed like the skinny man.
I believe this is the first time in history that I have ever heard someone present a nonsensical non sequitur that was so poorly worded and absolutely incorrect. Brother Sanchez, you're a fucking idiot. Okay, so I think this is going to be where we end the video today. Originally, I was going to cut this video off a long time ago, but the non-stop stupid just kept coming, and me and my dinger just couldn't help ourselves. Now, I'd like to take the time out to thank Digga for putting her best foot forward and stomping out idiocy with the best of us. Because Brother Sanchez, Lord Jamar, and irrelevant guy on the right who didn't know what he was talking about either, all three of you are fucking idiots. Alright guys, so you made it to the end of the video and I appreciate it. If you found this video entertaining and you didn't break your hand on your face, then click that like button, leave a comment below, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. This is the first video of the new year, so I want to say thank you to all of my channel members, patrons, and other people who have supported me through a tough transition to becoming a full-time YouTuber over the past year. It's with your support that I can continue to do what I love to do most, pointing out idiots on the internet. I'm Team Skeptic, and I'm out.